What's happening, everybody? It's your man Dame DNYDC, host of the Two Mics Up podcast. Back today, brand new Monday. We're here in the new year, and man, I hope you all, had a safe holiday season. And today, you know, I'm proud to be able to bring on a guest who I've had the pleasure of working with cross-platform, another podcaster, but she's also more than a podcaster. And I really have to say, um, our guest is really, she's very fluid. She's, how do you say, an entrepreneur, a freelance writer, production developer, and a motivational speaker. And she's really driven by purpose, in my opinion. And I think you'll get to really understand more about her purpose, and the things that she's doing here, right here in the DMV area. And, I'm really honored, like I said, to be able to share today's conversation with you all. And I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to go ahead and bring to the screen today's guest, Sylvia Montgomery. Sylvia, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good, Damon. I cannot complain.
Hey, look, I can't tell you how excited I am, to really be able to return the favor, and have you join, me here today on Two Mics Up. For those of you, like I said, we're working cross-platform and we're connecting uh, communities. We're connecting the dots, and you really fall in to a lot of what Two Mics Up really is all about. We like to sit here and talk about educating, empowering, impacting our community positively. And a lot of what you do and all of those fluid situations that I mentioned, you know, before we really dive in today, Sylvia, can you really share with me and our audience, who is Sylvia Montgomery? Give us a little
Hmm.
background about who you are.
No one has ever really asked me that question. So that is a very good question. One that makes me go, because I've never had to answer it before, Damon. We don't think about ourselves that way. We
Hmm.
just do what we do, right?
Right.
So if I was to really tell you who I am,
Hmm.
um, Sylvia Montgomery started out very shy person long time ago in high and back to elementary school years, just very shy. um, just sort of kept to myself, didn't have a lot of friends, was
Hmm.
very very quiet. That introverted spirit just was who I am. Of course I didn't know what an introvert was at that time.
Right.
But, I always thought I was strange. People treated me as if I was strange. A
Huh.
lot of people thought I was stuck up because
Oh.
I just seemed to be in my own little world. But I realized, of course, later on down the road, it's just that dominant introvert
Mm.
in me. And so, just because of that, and because I was always, I guess, a person you would say who was a loner,
Hmm.
I was just became very observant, um, just always thinking. But the mindset I had developed back then, didn't know then, but it was really a limited mindset. So
Mm.
I really had that limited mindset
Mm.
long time ago, even through college. And when I
Wow.
after I graduated high school and went to college, I majored in what I thought You know, based on who people thought I was.
Mm,
I thought, then maybe that's what I should be doing because that seems to be the in thing. Computer science or computer programming
right.
is what I did. And people thought I was intelligent enough to do that. So I just sort of did it, not really thinking about the question you just asked, who Sylvia
Mm,
is.
hmm.
So, that's my history. That's my background. That's where I come from, that limited mindset.
It's very interesting that you bring that up because I think many of us in our community may have experienced that. And the reason why I'm going to ask even further, when you talk about your background and your upbringing, uh, me being, Afro Latino and having some of that Latin culture and things, I won't say limited, but you kind of thought of and told at certain points, this is what you're going to do, and this is how you're going to do it. And I wondered that maybe any of those type of influences, maybe from your parents, from your parents' culture or your parents' background, was that an influence that kind of drove you, that kind of made you say, "Hey, this is what you're going to do. This is how you're going to be," and those expectations would kind of put you in a box at a young age. Is that what you kind of feel may have been part of that for you?
Not exactly. My parents, I come from a family of 11 siblings,
Ooh,
and
okay,
I was next to the last.
okay.
So my parents, their intentions were on getting us out of school, getting us through school and out of there as quickly any way possible because they had a lot of responsibility. It was always a lot going
Mm,
on
mhm.
within my household. But
Wow.
I do believe that there were certain expectations of me, though.
Mhm.
No one just sort of came out and said it, but I just felt like there were just certain expectations. There were things that were expected of me, being not the youngest, but next to the youngest.
Mhm.
And like I said, I always felt like I was a little different, not just within my family, but even among my peers.
Mm.
And because I thought a lot,
Mhm.
and I had that alone time and I was
Mhm.
always by myself, I guess my mind was just on what I was always thinking about, what other people
Mm.
are probably thinking
Mm.
about me and what I should do. So I guess when we really break it down, just sum the whole thing up, it was always about what other people thought or what they
Mm.
might have thought or what I think they're thinking. So, that sort of limited me um, from my passions,
Man, that
from
that
what
that's
I really felt passionate about.
that's interesting. So then, when did the light bulb, or when did it become about Sylvia,
Mm.
and did that play a role into what inspired you to become, an entrepreneur, and maybe a motivational speaker, and all of the things
Mhm.
that you're so dynamic with? When was that moment, and when did that switch take place for you?
That's really interesting because, as I sit back and think about my life over the years, that is a question that I can actually answer today because that light bulb came on, I would say, in my mid 20s.
Okay.
Um, it came on in my mid 20s. I'm a person of faith and
Mhm.
I had been going to church all my life. But because I was going through something in my life at that particular time, God literally, He spoke to me.
Mm.
And what He shared with me allowed me to be comfortable with who I am. I
Mhm.
wasn't comfortable with who I was because
Mm.
of what I thought other people thought about me.
Mhm.
So when He revealed to me that He had my back, that I was His, and that I was designed for a purpose,
Mm.
then, and like I said, I have been going to church all my life, but I was in my mid 20s. So I think that was the beginning of a new phase in my
Mhm.
life. And all of a sudden, I started seeing myself a little bit different and started doing some things a little bit different. And I believe I was always meant to be an entrepreneur, but again, that just was not the path
Mhm.
that I took. And, and I'll just say this, I believe that for most of us, the path that we're thinking we're expected to take is to go to school, find a good job, get a good education, and go out and
Mhm.
work for somebody,
Mhm.
right?
Correct.
So, and I just assumed that path because, again, being, the way I was thinking, plus the way our world is,
Mhm.
um, you know, even though in the back of my mind, I do believe I was always meant to be an entrepreneur, I took that path most taken.
Mm.
And but I did start to do things a little differently in my mid 20s.
And I like that you said because I think everyone, I was just having a conversation about a week or so ago with a young man trying to, he's 25, 26 years old, trying to figure out, where he's going. And he has said to me,
Mhm,
he's like a, nephew to me. And, Uncle D, man, like, what inspired you to do the podcast? And like, I see all the things that you're doing. I was like, nephew, that's it. What you see, this was not really my chosen path per se. Um, but you have to understand, and this is just me, my personal experience. I think I've always been talented and gifted in different areas, sports, school, uh, fairly good with people, communicating with people. I said, but and I use this as an example. I said, I think a lot of times for us as being young men of color, we're always worried about failure, what other people think, and this kind of goes to,
mhm,
what you were saying. I said, but you know what? It wasn't until I realized. In perfect example, I used a guy 45 who happened to gain, control of, he had the strongest position in this country. I said, now a lot of people you can say what you want about Trump. I said, but there's one thing that you just have to look at. Failure is not a failure in the sense of what we think it is. I said you've gained knowledge up to a point that it didn't work. I said, look at him. He was bankrupt over Lord knows how many times, but he came back uh, richer because of his so-called what we call failure. Once you realize that knowledge, and knowledge comes in different ways. It doesn't have to be book smart. Like you said, for most of us, we think we have to go to school and things like that, and that's great. But some of us, it could be hands-on, it's life experience. You take that once you gain that power, no one can take it from you. Now, what you do with it is the beauty. And I said, what a lot of people may see here with podcasting, yourself as an entrepreneur, they see the success, but they don't know the failures, like you said, what other people think. Until you get out
mhm,
of your own way and accept that, that you've gained something. And now how you implement that and move forward is your success. And I said, another thing is like what you said. I say, everybody, we're all by design. We're created by design by God to be wonderful creatures. Everyone has a talent. It's just about sticking to it, and like you say, not being worried about what other people say or what other people think, and really getting into Sylvia's groove, getting into Damon's groove, and really making the best of it. And really, that's where you find that you shine, and you really do your best God-given work, as what you say. So I find it amazing that you just brought that up, and I just had this conversation with this young man. And I hope people who are listening today really walk away with that message in your story and the story that I just shared. Eh, but what I do want to ask though, through your successes, because I don't like to call failures, but I call them successes, you become this entrepreneur and you're doing all of these things. Um, Through your entrepreneurship and all the services and resources that you may have to offer, how would you characterize you now? Like I say, you're a different Sylvia from the one that was afraid, but how would you characterize yourself now in what you're bringing to the community?
I'm still afraid.
Really?
I, but the difference is I still don't mind doing it. Um,
Mm,
I do it afraid. So,
mm,
we do what we have to do
mm-hmm,
because now that I understand that I am here for a purpose,
mm-hmm,
now that I understand that it doesn't matter what the naysayers think, it doesn't matter what anyone think. I'm still flesh, I'm still a person, I'm still human.
mm-hmm.
So I'm still going to have these emotions, I'm still going to go through these things. But the difference is that's okay.
Mm,
I can still get through it.
mm-hmm. So I'm going to jump in to purpose. And I want to talk about, Sims Productions and Services, uh, which is a part of your amazing portfolio. Uh, but how did, that come about?
Hmm. So now, officially, I actually became an entrepreneur in 2017.
Okay.
Um, I did not really start working as an entrepreneur
Okay.
until 20. Really, I would probably say the late 2019.
Okay.
Um, but prior to 2017, I was doing some things on
Okay.
the side. So I had done some stage plays
Mm,
productions. Um, I've done a drama series. I love writing. So writing is a passion of mine. I
okay.
do enjoy that. So I actually wrote a book in 2004, not realizing I was writing a book. I was just writing because I was left to write, and it
Okay.
ended up being a book. That followed up with some stage plays. And then there was the drama series.
Wow.
So altogether, four stage plays. And then the drama series that I am still working on. It is the best project, best production no one has seen yet. But I love it. It's just just a talented cast, wonderful crew that I was able to bring together for we filmed the first season and almost finished editing it. So
Okay.
really, Sims Productions is what it was
Okay.
originally.
Okay.
It sort of birthed the business.
Mm-hmm.
It was Sims Productions, and then the services came after the fact. That
Okay.
came around 2017. So when I actually decided to become an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
I knew that the productions had to be a part of that because that's what I had done.
Mm-hmm.
What would my business be, right? But
Right.
then the services just sort of made its way. So I was like, well, how am I going to work this in? Oh, Sims Productions and services. So that's just sort of how that happened.
So I love it. So ladies, we have an author here, and we have work that has yet to be shared with the world. So I mean, I have to add, I got to put a little pressure on you. Got to put a little pressure because
Okay.
these are things that you can't always hold to yourself. But
Right.
when can we, or what do we need to do to push you, or how can we even help you make some of these things come to life? Because I think these are talents. Like I say, man, I get excited for other people.
Hmm.
Because I'm not talented. Like when it comes to that, so like my daughter's a film major. Like I'm not a writer, but like she's like, Dad, you should write because I can tell stories now. I got stories upon stories upon stories. But I get excited when I hear that because these are things that people can probably maybe can relate to,
Hmm.
and should be shared. So what can we do, and how can we get to nudge Miss Sylvia to bring these things to life and to fruition?
You know, I'm glad that you said that because hold me accountable.
Okay.
Okay. Hold me accountable. I'm holding myself accountable. 2022 has got to be the year
Okay.
that, we see that production or we see
Okay.
more of that production. We at
Oh,
least see the trailer of the production.
okay. Let's
So,
go.
but then that's just one season.
Hmm.
So, there's more to come. But 2022 is going to be the turning point for that.
Okay. Well, we speaking it into existence here today on Two Mics Up, because I
Mhm.
really am excited. I would love to see it. I would really love to hear more about this series and the things that you're working on. I mean, it's exciting to me, just to be honest. So I want to take a second
Mhm.
before we get in to the second part of our conversation. I want to take a word to thank our sponsors here at Two Mics Up. Without their support, we would not be able to continue to bring you a show that's all about educating, empowering, impacting our community. So, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned, and we'll be right back after the break. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. I'm joined today with the phenomenal Sylvia Montgomery, entrepreneur, freelance writer, uh, production developer, motivational speaker, um, and she's just full of so much purpose. And we were talking briefly before the break, Sylvia, about your production company, and everything that you've been doing, and leading up to basically where we are today. And I do want to touch on, we're all dealing with the pandemic, and I'm curious to know for you, how maybe has that impacted, maybe the production side, the services side, your motivational speaking, has it been good, bad, and different? Um, and how have you been able to adjust?
So, the pandemic, we were actually, we had finished production by that time, and we were actually in the process of editing, which had to sort of, we had to pull back from that. So that did impact that to some degree. We were able to get back to it, but it impacted that.
Hmm.
The business side, as far as the freelance services, um, all of that started to come into fruition in mm, during the pandemic, or right after the pandemic.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, we're still in the pandemic, but
Right.
I guess I should say the lockdown, right?
Right, right, right.
Um, but that did not affect my work too much
Okay.
because I'm a virtual worker. So as a freelance, I do everything virtual. I can
Mm.
work with anyone in the world at any time. So that doesn't impact
Mhm.
what I do there.
Well, that's good. So have
So
you think, has there been a rise maybe on that side, the virtual side with the freelance writing for you, and being able to work with others and
mhm.
create with others?
There's so much opportunity there
Mhm.
as far as that part of the business. So, I'm just grateful and thankful that I found it. And I say that, yes, I found it because I was employed with, I was a federal government worker for 30 years.
Wow.
And I did early retirement in 2019
Mm.
because the opportunity came.
Wow.
Um, it was not something I had planned to do.
Mhm.
But remember, I told you earlier that I do believe an entrepreneurship was for me all
Yep.
along.
Mhm.
And so God had been speaking to me. So when that opportunity presented itself, I consulted with him.
Okay.
And because, again, I'm getting closer to my destiny here, getting closer to my purpose. It's taken me decades.
Mhm.
But I just felt like God wanted me to. And I had been doing the little gigs here and there, doing the stage plays and whatnot. I really wasn't doing that as a business. That
Mhm.
was just something I did on the side.
Okay.
But I really believe He wanted me to really be an entrepreneur and to serve in that capacity. So um, it was around, so it was the end of 2019, September 2019, that I retired. So
Mm.
really, 2020 is when I sort of took the leap. So it
Wow.
was right at the pandemic
Wow.
with things. And I really spent a lot of time because you would have thought that, what I thought, with all of the things I had been doing on the side up to that time, that it would have been easy for me to just fall into entrepreneurship, but it
Mhm.
wasn't. I really did not know what I was supposed to do.
Wow.
I did not know still what I was supposed to do, but here I am. I'm retired, Lord. Now,
Uh-huh.
yeah, you told me I'm supposed to be an entrepreneur, and I thought I knew what I was supposed to do, but I really did not. So it took me a minute. So during that pandemic, when we were doing in that particular place, as a country, as the world was in
Mhm.
this place, I used that opportunity
Mhm.
to really connect,
Yep.
to see what it is I really should be doing. And
Mm.
I knew absolutely nothing about copywriting when I retired. I didn't know anything
Wow.
about that
Wow.
world. That was, not even something I had even thought about or considered. But that ended up being where I landed.
Hmm.
I researched it. I even took a, it was the freelance position, but I even took a position with a full service marketing agency.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
just to that was headed in another state. It wasn't even in this area.
Wow.
So it was really an opportunity for me to learn some things and to do some things. So I learned a lot there.
Uh,
I learned a lot, and I'm grateful for that opportunity. I didn't see that coming. But yeah, so now copywriting, content writer, press
man.
releases, news releases, anything that businesses need. I do a lot of blog writing
Wow.
for businesses. I also edit books. So this is really how I spend the majority of my time. And again, because writing just seems to come easy to me. I was
Hmm.
able to just do it, and I actually love it. I love seeing a great blog piece
Wow.
come together, and I love it when a client is especially happy about what I've provided them with.
And see, that's awesome. I mean, you really went like say, I don't know what you did in the government, but it sounds like that's a total
It is.
180
It is.
uh pivot and change. But it really though
Yeah.
that pivot and change will really kind of help dislodge you right in to your purpose. And you probably didn't see it when it was happening. But when it happened, you was just like, oh, here I am. And what I
Hmm.
love about that too, though, is we're talking about purpose, but your podcast, streaming with a purpose.
Hmm.
Now, I gotta ask because I've had the pleasure of sitting down and talking with you and being a guest on the show. I found and I find the topics and what you're talking about, like I said, it's purposeful. It's really amazing what you're bringing. So let's talk about your podcast, Streaming
Hmm.
with a Purpose, and really how again did that piece evolve, and really more importantly, I think where or how do you envision its impact on others?
Wow. Well, thank you for that question. So, streaming with a purpose came about. It actually came about in 2020 when I was having that time with God.
Mm,
So, what He pretty much showed me through that period is that, Sylvia, your business is going to be geared around purpose
mm,
and entrepreneurship,
mm,
which to me sounds, it's a little bit crazy because I'm an entrepreneur, but you want my business to be geared around entrepreneurship.
mhm,
So I started blogging for myself in January 2020.
mhm,
I just started blogging. I had no idea why.
mm,
I love writing. And I just started writing what I felt like writing about. And it ended up being around purpose. I think that was the beginning thing. And I was also in the insurance industry. I was in
wow.
financial services industry.
Okay.
So I started blogging about finances because when I got involved in that, um, I found I loved it. I love the whole world of finance.
Okay.
So purpose just came to mind. I
Mhm.
just started doing that, but I didn't know why.
Mhm.
Um, so he, just later told me that my platform would be around purpose and entrepreneurship. Now he didn't
Mm.
really say the financial services piece, but I
Right.
still loved it in my head. I still loved that. I'm no longer doing that right now, the financial services,
Okay.
but it's still something I am passionate about.
Mhm.
And I'll share with you in a minute how I am dealing with that piece.
Okay.
But so when he told me I was going to do a podcast,
Mhm.
where I had never done and had no idea how to even do it or to get started, just like with the stage plays, the theater, he told me to do that, and I had absolutely no idea how to do it.
Right.
But when he told me I was going to do the podcast, I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
What is this podcast going to be about? It
Right.
all came back to purpose. So
Okay.
everything I had been blogging about, um, it all came back to purpose.
Mm.
And then, um, as far as my life, when I look at it, and when I think about the direction I went versus the direction or the path I should have taken, again, because I think we're programmed to think a certain way. Um, I just believe that sometimes people need a nudge.
Mm-hmm.
People just need a little nudge.
Mm-hmm.
The pandemic, with all of that, again, all of that was going on, and I'm thinking about all of that. Our life is too short for us to be living it doing what is not fulfilling us,
Mm.
doing it what we're not passionate about,
Okay.
just living because we got to pay the bills, working because we have to pay the bills.
Mm.
Yes, we have to pay the bills. Since we have to pay the bills, since we need to be fulfilled, since we all have a purpose, why not try to focus on making a living
Mm.
in fulfilling our purpose so that we can be completely fulfilled?
Wow.
Yes, we might be satisfied, as I was for 30 years. I was
Mm-hmm.
satisfied. I had absolutely no reason, no good reason to leave my job.
Right.
It was a very satisfying job. I loved it. I loved my coworkers. I teleworked maybe a couple of days a week.
Mm-hmm.
I looked forward to coming into the office. That's the type of job I had.
Oh
So
wow.
I absolutely had no reason to want to leave it,
Right.
other than the fact that I believed there was more.
Mm.
And God led me to believe that there was more. To this
Wow.
day, I have not regretted it. I think I made the right decision. And I would like to see more of us living our purpose. I do believe that is the expectation
Mm.
anyway.
I
That
love
is
that.
what we should be doing. If everyone was living their purpose, the world would be such a better place,
Mm.
because so many problems would get solved, because
Wow.
there would be the people who would be expected to do those things. They would be doing it.
Yeah.
Everyone would be doing what they're expected to do, what they were meant to do, because we
Mm.
all have an assignment. And all of that just resonated. And, I just felt all of that when we were going through the whole pandemic.
Mm.
So I just knew the podcast had to be about that. Um, so that is where Streaming with the Purpose came from. First, we're streaming on
Mm.
the air.
Okay.
And we're talking about earning a stream of income, because I believe in multiple
Mm.
streams of income. So it's
Okay.
two purpose there for the streaming. It's about earning a living, fulfilling your purpose.
Mm.
And also, because entrepreneurship is also part of that platform, most people, we're talking about living your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And most people who are entrepreneurs, that's what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
They're living their purpose, and they're
Yep.
doing what they were meant to do, that they have discovered about themselves. And so, again,
Wow.
I'm, I'm fulfilling the entrepreneur piece as well as the purpose piece,
Mm.
in the podcast.
That's powerful. That what you just said in the last minute and a half was really powerful. And so many of us really struggle, uh, finding that purpose. And I like what you said. If we all were doing the things that we were designed to do and living in that purpose, we probably would not have time to have the problems that we have, because everyone would be fulfilled
Hmm.
in their, I don't want to call it their role, but in their purpose. And I really love that. And that sticks with me now. It resonates with me. And I thank you for sharing that, because hopefully someone, if you're watching this today, play it back a couple of times, write it down, give yourself an affirmation, put it in your mirrors, put it where you can see it, because that was really powerful. That was a powerful gem. And I thank you, Sylvia. And just to share even a little further about the podcast. So talking with people or on your show, uh, they do have different purposes. And just maybe talk about one or two guests that maybe you've had, that maybe have had some things that maybe even for you was like, aha, something that you can take Because I think that's what really for me listening to podcasts and having the opportunity to talk to other podcasters like yourself and be cross platform. I've always found that I've walked away with something
Hmm.
that for me helped me continue to fulfill my purpose. So has there been maybe one or two moments or one or two guests that you've had that just kind of gave you an aha moment?
Yes, and I've had some awesome guests on the show. It's
Mm.
just been very fulfilling, and I want to thank you, Damon, for being one of my guests. We had a very good discussion,
Oh, it's
and I
my
really
honor.
like the fact that you and I worked in the same area. So that was really cool to know that we had that connection, and for the same, pretty much the same employer.
Right?
So, but there were a couple. It's probably more than a couple, but just thinking off the top, what I said earlier about doing it afraid,
Hmm.
that was actually the words of one of my podcast guests.
Oh wow.
That has resonated with me. It just won't leave.
Mm, mm, mm-hmm.
um, we have to do it afraid, is what she told me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you are so absolutely right. That just stuck with me. And it makes so much sense because it sort of fit who I am, to be
Mm,
honest with you.
mm-hmm.
Because, you know, even though back then the feeling was a lot stronger, what people thought, but even today, I mean, it hasn't completely gone away. It's still there. I
Mm-hmm.
have to block that stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to push and just do what I feel I should be doing or what I need to be doing in order to do. And then, um, actually, it was a couple of guests I've probably had who just really shed light on the fact that our purpose um, comes from our pain.
Mm,
That those pain points that we have, if we really dig deep enough and look within, our purpose
mm-hmm.
lies there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, just talking with these people, I mean, it's just awesome. The
Mm-hmm.
knowledge, the wisdom, everything that they bring to the forefront. And I'm hoping that, like you said earlier, that it's just landing in the ear of, if it's just one person
Yep.
who that might be an aha moment for them,
Yep.
or just an opportunity for them to think a little bit different about
Correct.
their life. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe they spend all their time on the sofa and depressed and just
Mm-hmm.
need a way out.
Yep.
Maybe just hearing some of that
Yep.
is an opportunity for them to might want to just do something different or to connect
Yep.
with the guests. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm just absolutely love talking with folks about purpose.
You said it again. You hit it on the head because I do believe that it's one of the things that not only I feel is my purpose, but continues to inspire me to do this. Is if one person is reached,
Hmm.
and if one person takes something positive away from this that will help them change their mindset, to motivate them to do something that, like I said, that we're all afraid of doing something, or that one thing, that one challenge that has always been, nah, I'll do it later. I don't want to. But if it
Hmm.
inspires them to challenge themselves to do that and conquer that, or move positively, or to do something in the community, for me, it's worth it. Doing this is well worth it. It's my gift, my blessing, whatever you may, my calling, whatever it may be. But to motivate others is really why I do this. And I thank you for sharing, your story and your stories and the stories of others. And I hope that you will continue to do that on your podcast, your platform. Like I said, I find it amazing. I think you're doing great things. And like I said, yes, it's a huge plus that we're here in the same DMV area. And like I said, I hope we can continue to connect and cross platforms as we both grow and move forward in the future. But I do want to ask before we go, and as we kind of come to the close of the show, two things. So first off, you know, we're working on the production because I'm going to stick on this production thing. What other events though, one do you have in store that maybe you can share, whether it be from Sims Productions or your services that we can expect to see in the future?
Okay, yeah, so absolutely be looking out for the production is House of Sharks.
Okay.
So be on the lookout for that.
Okay.
2022 is the year.
Oh.
Um, but I also have a course that I've designed
Hmm.
to help people to find their purpose.
Okay.
And I've titled it An Introvert's Guide to Finding Purpose, but that's only because I'm an introvert. Um,
Okay.
so um, introverts would definitely be able to relate to some of the language I use, but the process is for anybody.
Okay.
So that's actually coming up in January of
All right.
2022, January 25th.
Love it. So, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. This is all brand new. You want to reach out to Sylvia. We're going to allow her to share her information before she goes, so you can get all of that. But I will be remiss if I don't ask then, what's next for Sylvia Montgomery, the person?
The person,
Yes.
not the entrepreneur.
No, not that. I want to hear what's next for Sylvia Montgomery.
Oh, gosh. I don't know. I actually don't know the answer to that one, Damon. I'm just, again, though, still early in my entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Um, just always, I do believe as an individual, I do believe that there is always something, there's always a next.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what that next is going to be, I don't know yet.
Okay.
But there will be a next because there's always a next. I don't
Always.
believe that God, that He just puts us someplace and we're just there, that we're just stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think He takes us someplace and then we're just supposed to be there forever and ever and ever. Like, yes,
Mm-hmm.
we have a purpose, we have a special assignment, we have something that we are specifically designed to do, but the goals will change
Mm.
around that purpose.
Mm.
And, it could be, the next 2 years, your focus could be on one or two things, but when that's over, right?
Yep.
So then
Yep.
there's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like being stuck, or I don't think I've ever been stuck.
Mm.
Um, I've always been one of those people that even when I've had a leadership position, like say locally or in my church or whatever, I've always been that person. 2 years, that's it. I'm ready to go.
Mm.
And I don't go back to it.
Okay.
I don't
Mm.
really want to go back to it. I've been there, I've done that. That's sort of
Mm.
the attitude that I carry with me. I'm looking for what God wants for me
Mm.
next.
Mm.
So I don't know what that is yet
Mm.
because there's been a lot going on just because everything is still so recent and new
Mm-hmm.
to me right now. Um, but I would definitely, I'm always open to where God is trying to take me.
Mm. Well, I love that answer because don't cap yourself. Always look for what's
Hmm.
next.
Hmm.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, cannot sum up today's conversation about purpose, being purposeful. Do not cap yourself and listen to what God has for you next. And Sylvia, I thank you for sharing, your time with me today, with our audience today. Before we go, please take a moment, share your social media, your website information, anywhere where our audience can reach out to you, can find you, follow you, because you really have like I said, you have a whole collection of things that you really have to offer, and I really want our audience to, take time to write it down, and if they need to get a hold of you, I want them to be able to do so.
So I'll give you my website, and that's probably the easiest thing. It's simsps1.com,
Okay.
and that's Sims with two M's. So that's our
MPS1.
MMSPS1.com. and that's the
Okay.
number one.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
well, I want to say again, thank you. It's been an amazing conversation, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, if you are late or you just tuning in here on YouTube, make sure that you go back to the beginning. There were a lot of gems shared today with Sylvia. Very uplifting, very spiritual. Touched me again. Again, I picked up so many things, just like in our previous conversation when I was on your show. I hope you all will take these gems and use them to hone and craft your own purpose, and become the better person or the best person that you can. Uh, Continue to follow Two Mics Up online at www.twomicsup.com. Feel free to follow us across all of our social media platforms: IG, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Two Mics Up. And while you're here, if you haven't done so already, make sure you go ahead and you go down and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell. Don't leave without hitting the bell, people, so that you can be notified by all the newest content coming to you from us here at Two Mics Up. And like we always do at this time, you know, stay safe, stay blessed. Mics out.